to me, knowing that life can make people feel horrible and bad and hurtful, it's inspiring and motivating for me to get out there and to do the work that I do and to not only benefit from the work that I do and the people and the communities that I'm a part of, but also hopefully impact folks in with some light.
That's Allie Love, Peloton instructor, Brooklyn Nets host, and founder and CEO of Love Squad. And this is Make Yourself at Home, the podcast that takes you into the homes of people you admire to show you a side you don't usually get to see. I'm Kristen Twyford, and every week we'll talk to someone at the top of their career to explore holistic success and how work and home are inextricably intertwined. Along the way, we hope to inspire you to live well, whatever that means to you. Make Yourself at Home is presented by Nines, the household management app designed to help you manage your home and everything that comes with it, so you can live with ease. Today, we're in Allie Love's home in New York City, talking about making tough decisions, learning from life quakes, and why Sundays are her favorite day. Allie was hit by a car when she was 9 years old and remembers a conversation with her mom where she chose to fight, setting her on the path to walking again and to where she is today. Now, she lifts up thousands of people every day through her classes at Peloton, her organization Love Squad, and her Basics of Bossing Up series. At work, she's a powerhouse, known for Sundays with Love and bossing up. But she says she feels the most herself at home. Make Yourself at Home with Allie Love. Allie, thank you so much for having us into your home. We're so excited to have you on the show today.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm thoroughly excited as well.
Good. Well, I want to start out by talking about your home. I know that you have been on a bit of a journey with your home lately. So tell me a little bit about that and what you guys have been going through.
Yeah, so it's so interesting because homes have become very popular, especially since the pandemic. And because we spend so much time in them, I think we start to notice all of the things that we didn't notice before. And what ended up happening was, I do my spring cleaning every year. But last year, which was really wild, I was at home working out and I just came from work. So I get on the tread and I'm taking my own workout and I turn around and my closet's all on the floor. Everything gave up on itself. I was just like, wow, okay. Guess that's it for you. But that was the catalyst for me to start a project of really just not only decluttering, but organizing my home, finding more space, just kind of getting that Zen, getting into that Zen space into my space. And I think that's where a lot of steps of not only decluttering myself, working with a company, bringing in professionals to organize, really looking at what I need, what I didn't need, what brought me joy, the Marie Kondo way. And really kind of editing the house and providing some upgrades that I'm pretty proud about.
Yeah. What did you get rid of that you feel really good about? And what did you keep that's really bringing you joy?
So I have a wild, and I will say, fun disclosure, I still have an extra closet. Yeah. I have two separate closets in New York City at two different locations, interesting enough. But oddly, I have a wild, vast collection of two things or three things. Jeans, shoes, and tanks. I love a white crop tank and I have every silhouette. And then I have 4 of each of that in that particular silhouette. So what I'm really proud of is not only did I narrow down jeans, I didn't technically narrow down my shoes because it's really, really challenging, but I narrowed down tanks. And so that I don't have so many tanks.
That's a good narrowing down. You still get to keep the things you love. That's important. When you think about this project, what has it given you? How does your home sort of affect your energy or, like you said, your state of Zen? How does it fuel you and what has this project given you?
I think one of the things that I didn't realize going into this project is, one, it does take a lot of time. And those of you that have done this before, I'm sure you know that. But I didn't know it was going to take this much time. I gave myself 30 days. I was like, you know what? I'm going to start this project. I'm going to get it done in 30 days. But as many of us are juggling a full-time job, doing multiple things, having a family, and then, of course, the chaos of life, it doesn't get done in that amount of time. And so each month, what I decided to do after my first learning experience of the first 30 days was to prioritize an element of the organization and decluttering and revamping of space. And throughout this process, it taught me how much I love having space in my space. I know I keep saying the word space, But the reason for that is if you're in New York, many of us don't have the luxury of having a huge home or multiple bedrooms. Like we live in a confined kind of apartment or condo or brownstone. And so this idea of opening up your space so I can breathe was something that was a byproduct of me setting these monthly goals of taking it step by step. And it has overall like been beneficial to my mental health in the sense of I walk in my house, I feel very proud of myself. I'm proud of things being organized. The fact that I have the things that I love and or need in the proper place and I can see them. Like the sheer visibility to what I have makes me proud of the fact that I work so hard. And it's not to say that I don't idolize my material things, but the reality is we cannot sometimes separate our whole person from what we have. Mm-hmm. What we have is a representation of what we do with our time. And so coming into my house and seeing things labeled and seeing that I do have the medicine I need in the event, I get sick last minute, or that I have an outfit to wear to any event, or that I just have like the keepsakes that, the letters that my husband wrote when we were just dating, or the cards that my mom wrote to me in college. Those things being very visible and in their space, they make me, they give me and provide me a sense of peace. And that idea of zen, of calm, of the ability to breathe and just be proud of who I am. Like, yeah.
It's interesting to hear you talk about this too, because I feel like it sounds like your home is sort of this physical manifestation of how you think about slowing down to speed up. And so tell me a little bit about that. How is your home kind of symbolic of how you look at the whole picture?
Yeah, I talk about that. And I've been talking about that for a while, is this idea in order to go fast, you have to slow down. And I think the reason for that is in order to be efficient, maybe another way to look at it, in order to be efficient, there has to be some preparation, right? In order to get to work on time, things have to be done before you get there. You need to like make sure you're dressed. You need to make sure you quote unquote eating breakfast and or made your coffee or tea. Like there's some steps. You have to take your kids to school. And so within that, there's a preparation that needs to occur. And instead of doing the preparation in the moment you need to be ready, it's almost like you need to actually slow down, prep. So when it's time to get out of the house and run like a bat out of hell, you can do it more efficiently. And that's exactly what it means to have a home where things are in a place. Mm-hmm. That organization is that preparation so that I am already ready to go, that I can see what I need to do, and then I can therefore do it and be more efficient in doing it with my time.
Yeah. What does home mean to you?
Well, it's after my favorite movie, Home is Where the Heart Is, with Natalie Portman, who's absolutely amazing, and a book that I read. I think that home is a space that you can truly be yourself. And what I mean by that is like home is going to hear you screaming in the deepest argument. Home is going to hear you screaming in your most passionate moments. Home is going to feel you crying. Home is going to hear your deepest laughter from your belly. And you want to create a space, or I will say I, not you. I want to create a space that I feel confident and comfortable in doing all those things. And so for me, it is truly where culture is created. What I do at home is what I do outside of the home. It's ultimately where love resides. Like who I'm most proud of to be with, to be myself inside my home is who I'm most proud of to be with outside my home, and who I am outside of my home. So I will say it does build that culture and truly is a safe space for that love to be cultivated.
When do you feel like you are at your most comfortable? Like with whom or where or when?
Well, that's a really interesting question in the sense of being my most comfortable. I think that it varies. I am comfortable at home with my husband. I am my most comfortable self there. Yeah. Of being honey, the quirk works. I'm so quirky and I talk all the time. And my husband just listens and nods and smiles and says, okay. Mm-hmm. And it's the breeding ground for what I've always wanted in my life. And that was, I wanted to create a home where there was conversation. Growing up, my mom, who is very gregarious, similar to myself, she did talk a lot, but she talked to me and my sister. My father wasn't the most engaging when it came to conversation. And I knew growing up, not that was bad or good, but for me, I just wanted to create a home where conversation was the centerpiece, right? That there was a lot of talking. And so anywhere that I am in a space with folks that I love, where we can engage in tough conversations and thought-provoking conversations, and just and freely joke, is where I feel my most comfortable and my safest. And so that is in my home. That is around my friends. And sometimes that is on vacation with those said people or at a dinner with those said people. And so that's when I truly feel most comfortable, most safe, most myself, is when I'm surrounded by folks that know me and love me and vice versa. And we're able to have thought-provoking, interesting, hard, funny, very robust conversation.
Yeah, that's awesome. And in your work with Peloton, you are in other people's homes every day. And every single person I've told that I was interviewing you was like, oh my God, I love her so much. One of my best friends said, oh, tell her I spend every Sunday with her. You know, they love to spend their Sundays with you. What a lovely concept that it's like their quiet moments or their moments of empowerment, they spend it with you. And so that's such a personal thing to be in somebody's home on Sundays or any day of the week. So what does that mean to you that you're kind of creating these connections with people in their own personal spaces?
Well, it is a privilege. It is an honor. And it's absolutely the most fun ever. And the reason I say that is because, one, I do understand there's a social responsibility. There is a responsibility to show up and be of service to folks in their quiet spaces, in their safe spaces. But also it's so much fun because I love my job and we have a wild community in the best sense of the word, right? Like our community is so diverse and is so just like engaged in different capacities and different levels of engagement. And to be a part of that makes me happy. It is so fulfilling. And it's so interesting that I do think, and this wasn't necessarily intentionally at first, but I do find it very refreshing that folks find me, Allie Love, synonymous with Sundays. And this was prior to my show, like the featured show of Sundays with Love at Peloton that I created. The reality is that I was born on a Sunday. I've always felt growing up, and I didn't know that for many, many years that I was born on a Sunday. I don't know if you all know what day and time you were born, but I found out much later in life. I started getting curious, but even prior to knowing that information, Sundays have always been my favorite days. And the reason for that is that it's kind of like that preset before the reset, right? Like it's a day you do the preparation. It's a day you think about the week ahead. It's a day you know, I'm a spiritual person. So it's a day that you give, not the only day you give thanks, but it's the day that you focus on giving thanks, right?
Yeah.
To God. And it's a day you spend usually with your family. And I think that for me, that grounding, that preset, that reset that occurs on that day was something sacred and beneficial mentally, spiritually, and physically. And so when I came on to Peloton, the funny thing, ironically, was the one spot that was available with no questions asked was 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Like most instructors did not want to teach 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning because it's early. Most people go out on Saturday nights. Most folks are sleeping. It's not a coveted time in the sense of members are showing up live. And so I was like, great. I love teaching. One, I'm an early morning person. I'm that annoying person that's up early in the morning, emailing you in your inbox or texting you. You're welcome. But also I love waking up before, especially in New York City, waking up before the city woke up.
Yeah.
And so 8 a.m. to me was quite beautiful. And I started to use that time to kind of get curious around who I was as an instructor, who I was coming into my adulthood, right? You know, coming out of college, getting my job and like, oh my God, who am I? I started getting curious. And the members were with me along for that journey. And I started getting a little bit more spiritual in the sense of not like religious. Like there is a difference between this is my religion and this is the music we're going to listen to, more so than spiritual. Let's dig deep into those kind of thought-provoking questions of who are we? Why are we here? What are we doing? Are we our best selves? What does that mean? Like asking all those questions that usually a 5-year-old asks, you know, and you're like, wait, what? I have no answer. So asking us those questions. And it really did, Kristen, take a life of its own. And that members started to show up in real time. And they were spending Sundays with Allie Love. And Sundays with Love is a play on the fact of Sundays with Love is a Sundays with you, like you with yourself, loving yourself. The Sundays with Love is you prepping for the folks to be a better version of yourself for the folks around you and that you love. Sundays with Love, if you're a spiritual person, like that is the most, agape way of love. And so I started creating this, it took on a life of its own, and I created Sundays with Love. And so for me to be in people's homes on a Sunday is beautiful. I think it's, like I said, it's refreshing. It's an honor. It's a privilege to do so. And it's totally, even though I would say the last couple of years, I tried to get away from it and show everyone, I'm not just empowering and motivating. I'm so funny and fun. Yeah. What I recognize is that it is who I am. I have to just like be alchemist it in a sense. Like I can travel the whole world trying to be funny and tell you that I'm like super cool and Gen Z and like your best friend. And at the end of the day, I am here to empower you, for us to figure out how we feel, what we think, and to be able to articulate those things in our life. That's what power is. And I just got to own that. So I got to own that I am Sundays with Love.
You definitely are. I am so curious about this too, because I feel like everyone looks at you as sort of their guide on this empowerment journey. And I'm sure you have your own struggles with your own journey. And that has to be, like you said earlier, a lot of responsibility. What do you think would surprise people about the person that you are in your own quiet moments, or, you know, on your own empowerment journey?
I mean, there will be many things that would be surprising. Because I'm committed to being transparent on social, but like I'm a very private person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a couple things. One, I think that most people would be surprised, and I hope this I mean this with the best intention. But I think people may be surprised at how much content I consume. What do I mean by that? Not like watching TV. Although, like, I do love a good murder mystery and whodunit kind of thing. Super surface. I don't want anything dark and grim. But the content, and some people say that audibles aren't reading, but I listen. Let me be clear. I listen to books on books on books. I read tons of articles. Like anyone, if you have, instead of DMing about your milestone, I'm like, DM me a great article that you think is like life-changing. I love reading great articles. Not idolize, because that sounds so strong, but I am a very big fan of folks who can write well. So I read a lot of books. I read a lot of articles. I listen to a lot of podcasts. Masterclass is one of my favorite things to subscribe to. I love Masterclass. I love understanding how people operate and why they think and how they think and what they think. And so I'm so deeply curious that I think folks would be surprised at how much I consume in a daytime in the transition of work, of content. Like I diversify my content consumption and I'm committed to that. And so I think that folks may be a little, maybe not shocked, but politely surprised at how much I read, listen to, and consume in that regard.
Do you find yourself consuming a lot of social media too?
I used to, and I had to do some work. So it was like a couple steps. And the first thing was to not be on it so much, which is, I think everyone's goal in life is like, not to do that so much, which is not necessarily a goal, nor a metric for success, nor a strategy that works. We all know that. So that was my first plan of action, was just to say, I'm not going to be on it too much.
Yeah.
But sincerely with that, it has been in the recent past as well, detrimental to my mental health. Even when I didn't think it was, I was like, no, it doesn't affect me. Like I got it under control. I didn't. I really didn't. And I am not stronger than the power of social media and the power of marketing, my darlings. I am not. And I had to realize that's not a superpower. And so what I do, and this is still new, I told you I'm still on this journey.
Yeah.
I put myself in a 1 hour time limit. I gave up on TikTok in a sense of I post once in a blue. I'm not committed to, how do you say, being TikTok famous? Because right now everyone is technically TikTok famous. So therefore that means no one is famous in any regard.
Right.
But more power to you. I don't want to sound like I'm being negative about that space. Some people thrive and their content's amazing. So keep doing you. But it's no longer a desire of mine in terms of my energy. And then on the social platforms that I am a part of, Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, I just give myself an hour time limit a day. My apps have an hour time limit. So they mute, like I can't click on them. Granted, I could give myself extra time, and I have done that when I need to do posting or work, or I'm doing a dedication to a friend and I want them to feel the love. But for the most part, I had to be really keen on this being a physical reminder. My Instagram will not open unless I'm like, a prompt says you are out of time. Yep. And that's a reminder of my girl, you don't need any more time on this space.
Yeah, I think you have such an interesting perspective because, so many people are able to keep up with you through these platforms. And so you're able to create really meaningful connections with people who take your classes every day, or, people who just believe in the things that you talk about. But at the same time, it has to be a lot of pressure to sort of like have a certain image or make sure you're there and you're relevant. And can imagine that is a burden to carry. And I know that your husband is not on Instagram, #AndrewNoIG. What are the conversations that you guys have around that? And how do you think about it? And do you guys balance each other out in that way? Is he, helping you through that?
Yes, he is. And hopefully he doesn't hear this in the best way. I don't want to tell him he's right. A spouse telling the other spouse they're right gives him a boost of confidence. And it's not always the best. No, I'm just joking. But no, he is 100% right in that my husband is my best friend and he has my best interest at hand all the time. Mm-hmm. He's seen the effect that social media has had on my mental health. He's seen me spiral even when I don't realize it, right? Social media will sift you like sand, like wheat, like flour, like anything. It will sift you, will break you down, and you don't even know you're going through that process, but the people around you that love you will notice it. And sometimes you can't point to it because it'd be a combination of things. And this is not to say social media is bad. So I want to be very clear. I'm not saying that social platforms are bad. I am a part of them. What I am saying is when in the moments from experience, when I have not managed my social media intake and being very vigilant around awareness of the impact it has on me, then it has offered negative consequences, i.e. I feel like I am a bad person, i.e. I feel like I'm never going to make it in this world. I'm not like that person, right? Comparison is a thief of joy. I am now joyless because I've compared my life to a small aperture of someone who has more followers that people can comment more on, that they like more than me. I can compare myself on my platform to say, you know what? I don't matter. Like I start thinking how I don't matter because I don't have as many folks taking my classes as that person, or as many people commenting as that person, or as many people following me or liking me or telling me I'm great via, a heart, a double click, a comment, a follow. My self-worth is now tied to all of that. And I start to go down. I have gone down these mental, and it doesn't happen. Like, it's not like in 1 second, all of this happens. And I'm just like, oh, let me be aware and snap out of it. It doesn't happen like that. Like I said, it sifts you like wheat. It's a little bit at a time. And I've found myself in spaces where I start thinking the work that I do is meaningless. That if I'm not on the platform, if I don't post, if I just like shut off everything from the world and stop doing what I'm doing, then no one would care. And all of that just ends up in a dark space. And so I say all of that to say social media is not bad. Having my husband in my life to alert me, to like raise that flag of, honey, you don't need to post everything you're putting in your mouth. Like you don't need to like post every piece of food that you just ate. Like be mindful and be intentional of what you're posting and why. Have that why. If it is to service folks in information and empower them, and or just to be funny, feel free. But know that there's a delineation and a huge difference between posting every area of my life because I want you to follow me and love me. And the only way I know love and self-worth is if you follow me a lot and I have more followers than the folks around me, versus I actually want to empower you and show you like, this is either funny, it's going to make you laugh and encourage you that day, give you some joy, or this is information that I found useful and helpful and like motivating. And this is what I'm going through. And so he is that person to kind of raise that red flag when I am not following the proper why, and to build me up and say, you're already good enough. You're worth it, girl. You're like amazing. Like he is that for me. And sometimes it's not your spouse that does that. Maybe it's your best friend, but whoever your love squad is, I encourage folks to find that. And I'm very grateful that I have friends and I have my husband to do that, because I really, as much as I don't know everything, and I don't know everything all at once.
Very true. I think that's a really good take. Thinking about intention, it sounds like your whole life you've really had a sense of clarity about wanting to make an impact. So tell me a little bit about what you pictured for yourself as a little kid and sort of where that sense of clarity came from.
Oh, this is the first thing that I've never told this story. I'm going to share a story that I've never told before.
Love it.
Or I've like
We like to get deep on this podcast. That sounds perfect.
So interesting enough, this happened before at 9 years old. I was hit by a car, which everyone who has listened to my story over the last 2.5 years, has come up, and I've shared that a lot. So that's not technically the story, because you can find that other places. But the story is before I got hit by a car and wanted to be a dancer. When I was a little girl going to school, I actually saw Oprah. And I think this is a very common story, but there's more to it. I saw Oprah on TV and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. Like, I want to host a show. And then it was Ricky Lake was super popular as well. And I knew Ricky Lake from Hairspray. Like, my dad liked Ricky Lake. And we watched Ricky Lake on Hairspray. And then she was on TV as a morning host. And now, mind you, I'm in elementary school. Or maybe a little older, but like I was like young. And these are older movies and folks that are just like making it in life.
Yeah.
And there was a day that you come in school dressed up like the profession. You have to present and perform the profession you want it to be. Mm-hmm. So I decided that I was going to create my own talk show, and I was going to be called Allie Berry, kind of play on Halle Berry, because she was famous, although not a host in any regard.
Yeah,
but it was called Allie Berry, and I got dressed up in this black and white pencil skirt and a black shirt in elementary school with my little like strappy flat shoes that were shiny, and I like got in front of the class, and I was like, "Welcome to the Allie Berry Show." And this is a daytime talk show where we're going to talk about, and I don't even remember sincerely what we talked about. Hopefully, now that I remember that story, maybe it'll come to me. But I started interviewing folks and I'm like, so Kristen, what do you like in class? Like, I started pretending they were the audience and mimicking this show that I created with a big sign behind me that I put on the chalkboard. And so I will say my earlier childhood memories before getting hit by a car, wanting to become a dancer, was to become a talk show host because I saw that. And the funny thing is I was able to do both those things.
Mm-hmm. How amazing. And now that you've sort of gotten that, how does it compare to what you pictured?
Well, it's way better in a sense that because things have evolved and becoming, you know, I'm a Peloton instructor, and a part of my job is to make sure I'm producing great content, to create great content, to teach it, to show up on camera. The things that I do, I have a Netflix show coming out where I am the host of Dance 100. It's just me, 6 episodes.
Awesome.
Like, it's incredible. Like, to see that there was an intersection of those things is quite fulfilling. I know there's more road ahead of things that I want to do, and they are all in the works, I guess. Like, how do you say incubating or incubating?
Incubating,
like thank you. Incubating. I don't know all things. Phases. And so it's just like, as I think about that, it makes me pretty proud of myself a little bit. You know, I'm proud of how far I've come, and like to think I had that thought in such a young age, and to see that it's always been a part of me, even when I wasn't thinking about it, you know?
That's amazing. Do you feel like you still have that sense of clarity about where you want to go and what you want next?
I do. Yeah. I don't think I always have it. And I speak present tense, and I say that because I think what I want to do, technically, just like Peloton, if you would have asked me 8 years ago, where do you see yourself in 2 years or 4 years or 8 years or 10 years, I could never say Peloton because Peloton wasn't created at that time, right? It wasn't what it was. And so I do think that there is an unlock that I always manage to stay curious around my career. There's an unlock of what I will do that probably will be homeostasis, like where I will probably end my career in a sense or sustain my career. Hasn't technically been created yet. And maybe there is what I've always done is live in that intersection. So it's a hybrid of things. But for right now, I do feel really good about the next steps that I'm taking steps in the next couple years of what I want for my life, both personally, professionally, and how they intersect. And I think what I've spent most of my time recently doing isn't technically focusing on what I want. It's what I don't want. And sometimes knowing what you don't want or don't like is almost more beneficial. How do you say? Yeah, beneficial is probably the right word. Than what you do like. And so I know what I can do. And just because you can doesn't mean you should. So I know what I can do. And when I'm recognizing what I shouldn't do and removing those things, and process of elimination has brought me closer to that clarity of the next year or two.
Mm-hmm. And I read somewhere that you are somebody who's pioneering the slash generation, which I think is such a great way of putting it for you because you've got Peloton and the Nets and your own company Love Squad. And that's just like the beginning of what you're doing professionally. But then you also have your personal life. You got married recently. I'm sure there's so many other things that we don't see going on. You just mentioned your Netflix show. There's just a lot of things happening. And I can imagine it's hard to say no to things and weed out the things that you don't like. Can you think of a time recently where you've struggled to make a decision about something that was really like, I don't know if this is meaningful to me?
Are you talking to my therapist? Is she doing like the pre-call interview? So one of the things we talked about last week in our therapy session is how I, unfortunately, again, we all have our weaknesses. Unfortunately, I have a very hard time making decisions. And for some people, it comes easy. And some people say, follow your gut, be fearless. But the reason I say, I can make daily decisions on like, what am I going to eat? When I'm done with this call, I'm definitely eating Chipotle. Like Chipotle is my life. Done. I get it. But when it comes to, yes, presented opportunities, whether to take them or not, sometimes I can get caught up in there's a wrong decision and there's a right decision. And this kind of like dichotomy of life is like wrong and right. Everything, it's a binary situation. And the conversation we had last week was, it's not a binary conversation. I mean, it's not a binary situation. It's actually understanding that in each of these choices, there are options, first and foremost. Two, whichever one I choose, I can pivot. There will be a pivot, a shift. There will be a what's next situation. And then in the moments where I get super stressful, this is something I haven't necessarily done it and put it into practice because we just had this conversation last week and it's literally been 1 week. So I haven't had a chance to put it to the test. But from now on, I carry a coin with me. She was like, carry a coin. And now I need to get a cool coin. Like I'm convinced that I'm going to get like a branded coin. But
You're
in those
be a
moments
coin person now.
like I'm making coins, buy your coin, like a Love Squad coin. Like it is.
I love
because in those moments that I'm having a tough time making a decision, it's not a yes or no. It's not a this is right, this is wrong. It's not super binary. It's which of these options am I going to take now? Not that I'm not going to take later, just now. And flipping that coin to make that decision will alleviate a lot of internal conflict and stress that I put on myself of this idea that if I make the wrong decision, my life will then not get to the place that I wanted, or I will be in a bad place.
It definitely makes sense because it's like you're not just stressing about what's happening in the moment, but what the consequences of that decision in the future will be. And some things just aren't that big of a deal. You can bounce back.
Yes. Yeah, this is true. And that's the thing is save the stressful decisions for the stress. Like something I've been telling myself and I've talked about in my classes a lot is let the hard be hard and the easy be easy. Do not conflate the two because then that's when life gets complicated.
Yep. That is a really good point. I love it. And now when you're thinking about the future, what does a successful life look like to you more holistically? Not just through work, just everything in your life. What does a meaningful life look like to you?
So I read a lot of articles. Again, the surprising fact is I read so many articles. So it's twofold and both of them intersect in the same capacity. But the metric for success for me looks like this. They say that the happiest people in life that live longer and healthy lives are folks that have built great, strong friendships. And so right now what I've done is I've taken a step back, looked at my friendships, look at who I am and how I show up. And the friendships that are maybe not in the spaces that I want them to be, but overall I'd like to rekindle over the time, right? Like not everyone that I want to be close to is close to me right now. And I know I can make those efforts. So I'm doing the work to not just put in the efforts to rekindle some friendships, but also to make sure that the friend I want to be is showing up for the folks around me. And I think for me, the number one success for me in the future is when I look around at the table of my birthday party or holiday when we bring our families together, is that it's not just our families, it's our friends and their families, and that they've created the lives that is success for them. And because they are a reflection of me, a reflection of us as my husband and I, of our relationship as well. And so I will say the number one factor right now that I'm focused on and that I hopefully can make sure is my North Star is that the folks that I am proud of, the folks around me, I respect my friends. I appreciate them. I value them. And this is going to hear me out. They are that I can leverage them. What do I mean by that? That when I need help, I have the fortitude, vulnerability, and strength to go to them and relationship and comfort to go to them and vice versa. And that to me is success, is that when the people around you have built themselves up and they feel good about who they are and you feel good about who they are, that is a reflection of you. And then on the other side of that I've built that exact same bond and culture within the family that hopefully my husband and I can create together. And so that to me will be a reflection of my success in itself, is that my kids aren't, and I read this somewhere and I really think about it quite often than not. We often think like, well, we need to change the world for our kids. I'm not here to change the world for my kids. I'm hopefully, God willing, we're able to have kids one day that are like, we change our kids to be better to the world, right? That our kids are the betterment. Like we make sure that we mold them so when they go out in the world, they are the good of the world and not the other way around. And I think if we all were impactful of raising great kids, and the world is by default a great place because the world is only a reflection of who we are in it. Super meta, but you got it.
I love it. I think that's a really nice take. Thank you. Thinking about your life today and looking around at what you've achieved and the people around you, and you've not only achieved this sort of like talk show level of fame, but also built these really deep connections with the people who are watching you every day, which I think is such an interesting thing. It's not just that they know your name, it's that they feel like they're best friends with you, which is such a cool gift. What do you think was a decision or a moment in your life that led you to this place and, that had a ripple effect in getting you here where you are today?
Yeah, I will say pivots and forks in the road are absolutely important. And I encourage anyone who's listening to think of kind of what of those, and this is my homework for myself too, as I talk to you about it. I don't have a succinct answer, but I'll get straight to it. The takeaway for me is, as I have more of these conversations and navigate the next phase of my life, is to have those, what are those 5 forks in the roads or pivots or touch points that have been integral in changing your life, right? Like what are those 5 decisions or 5 life quakes or moments that have shaped you and where you are? And sometimes we forget those moments. And so to answer your question and get straight to the point, the one thing that I've been talking about is that getting hit by a car is, as a kid at 9 years old, and I've shared this so much, I really didn't know how impactful that was and how much it shaped me. And I'm sure there are more sense. And that's what I said, I got to take away and do the work. So I own that right now, and I'll have a better answer next time we talk. But I just know for a fact is that life quake at that young age of my mom affording me the opportunity to make a decision around my life shaped in how I approach and look at the world and how I continue to make decisions on my life and around my life. It provided me onus and responsibility. And especially, and I guess couple that with being so young that I was able to kind of see the world through that lens and continue to have that responsibility and onus as I navigated life, even while being young, to get out there and live it. So I would say that to me is like that touch point. That is the decision of choosing to live and to pray and to fight for my life at that young age. And that conversation with my mom was one of the greatest moments.
Do you think that you'd be where you are today without that life quake?
Absolutely not. I wouldn't change it for the world. I will say it may have been solely the best thing that ever happened to me. I don't know what it feels like to have kids, but I assume that is. And I don't want to say my wedding was necessarily the best thing, because it was amazing as well, but it was up there with big milestones of the outcome. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, for sure, because the trauma and it's very challenging for any family. And if anyone who has experienced someone who's been hit by a car or knows someone, it's not easy. So I'm not making it a high profile thing, but I'm speaking from a personal place, is that I wouldn't change that for the world, in that it definitely shaped who I am. And it gave me the sense of, it gave me a very close touch point of what it feels like to know how life is so precious. So in times I feel down and sad, and I know I've come so close to losing it that I know what that feels like. And again, I don't wish that on anyone, but I'm very grateful that I had it happen.
Well, it is amazing to hear your gratitude around it and the way that you've reframed that. And this whole conversation has been really meaningful. So thank you so much. I want to get into our lightning round of fun questions. To kick it off, this is all kind of home related. What's one thing in your home that brings you joy?
My teapot. It's a glass teapot that my friend Muniza, who's like a very close family friend, Muniza, she got me because we go to London a lot. And it's like a teapot that she got me in London when I came over, and I took it back home with me, and it brings me so much joy. I actually served tea to my 2 best friends last night in my house, and I was like, this is joy for me.
So nice. Such a good, simple pleasure. What's one thing in your home that makes your life easier?
My husband, I just ask him what to do. I'm like, he's like Yoda sometimes. And sometimes he's not. Sometimes he's Wreck-It Ralph and sometimes he's Yoda. Isn't that like,
it's a real back and forth.
Some questions I'm like, I'm like, some questions you should just be really helpful on. And he's just like Wreck-It Ralph. But I would say 80% of the time, and he's probably going to laugh because I said that, because I'm probably more Wreck-It Ralph. But 80% of the time, he has really keen advice. And one of my girlfriends was saying that last night, that he has really good sense of it. His EQ and IQ and street Q is really is pretty dope.
That's a pretty handy person to have around. That's nice.
Don't tell him I gave him this many compliments.
You got it. We'll cut all that out.
I'm just kidding. No.
What's your household pet peeve?
What's my household? There's so many. Well, I guess there's so many and they're not a lot. But I know. There's really one. It's when someone's brushing their teeth with the water on. Or like you're in the kitchen cooking and you just have water running for if you're not using water, please, I don't care if your water bill is free and included, like, we're growing up in, was it Florida? We didn't have, or New York, we don't pay water or something like that. But no, turn off the water. That drives me nuts.
I agree. It's wasteful. It's just not nice.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Not nice at all.
What's one thing you remember loving about your childhood home?
Oh, I know, 100%. Growing up, my mom let us, at a very young age, decide what color we wanted to paint our rooms. And the first color, because we got to do it again once we were like adolescents, we got to paint our room. And then we became teenagers and she let us paint our room again. But the first color I painted my room was pink. I had a pink room, pink walls, like light pink. And when I think of my childhood home and the fuzziness comes back, I think of the pink walls, like my bedroom and my bedroom had a bathroom in it, which for us, we didn't grow up with a ton of stuff. So for that being the case, I felt super, super cool.
Oh yeah, that sounds very luxurious. Something kind of rosy about all that.
Yeah, although my family used it. It wasn't technically mine, it was everyone's, but still.
It's still pretty cool. Yeah. I know you love the power of 3. What are 3 quick things that you love and 3 quick things that you don't love?
I love donuts. I've already said Chipotle and my husband, so I won't say that again. But I love donuts. I love notebooks. And I love audibles. I love listening to books all the time. 3 things that I don't love. I don't love someone who complains incessantly. Oh my God, guys, stop. I don't mind. I love a good kiki and let's be shady once in a while, but someone who does it all the time. So I don't love someone who's just a complainer. I don't love traffic. It drives me nuts. And I don't love scallops. That's just random fact about me. I don't love them. I like them. I don't love them.
They're fine. Yeah, I'm with you.
They're weird, alive and or not alive. I just find them no shade to the scallops are they in the ocean, the lake? I don't know, but no shade to them as a species. Mad love to you, but I don't get it.
Yeah.
I need someone to break it down. What do they do? They have a brain? I guess I don't love them because I'm confused.
Yeah, you're going to have to watch some Planet Earth to figure that out.
I should, all the books I read, maybe the next one's dedicated to the life of scallops.
About scallops. Who's one person that you admire who you think really lives well?
Can I give lived? Can I give past tense?
Absolutely.
Mr. Rogers, past tense. And the reason for that is I think that his ability to stay steadfast in empowering children with information, even if we didn't think it quote unquote was kid information, and making it accessible in homes of all kids. So making it equitable and accessible for those that did have, electricity, as much as possible, and TVs and time, as equitable as possible, is quite remarkable and inspiring. And I often think of him in terms of when he fought for PBS I'm a subscriber of PBS because of Mr. Rogers. I consume PBS content frequently. I think they also just create great TV, wholesome TV sometimes that just works for me. But Mr. Rogers, absolutely, in terms of recognizing that in order to make the world a better place, we got to make some great kids,
Yes. What's your favorite PBS show?
Oh, there's so many. So I told you I love whodunits and murder mysteries. And so, but Miss Scarlet is great. Miss Scarlet and the Duke is great. But I think right now, if I could advise any folks, and you can watch this with your kids, I think there are some scenes you may not be able to watch with your kids because the animals are like in labor. Like that sounds really intense, but they don't show you everything. But it's a show called All Creatures Big and Small.
I've heard of it.
You've heard of it.
I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, it's based on actually a set of novels of a real life veterinarian. And as someone who, I wouldn't say I'm the huge, like, I don't have pets, and I love pets, but I don't have it because I don't have room right now. One day. But it makes you fall in love with just the simple pleasures of life, with how animals are so beautiful, like how the earth, like it's just, I just recommend it. Let me stop there. It's just absolutely incredible.
Great rec. Adding to my list. Yes. What inspires you to live better?
What inspires me to live better? Wow, you can see I'm lost for words and that never happens. Because I don't want to be super cheesy. Like, my kids one day, like everyone knows that. So I don't want to like that insert the best like Miss America, Miss World insert here. But on a practical level, what inspires me to like every day? Mm-hmm. You know what it is that life makes people feel bad. Yeah. And so what inspires me is the fact that life makes people feel bad. And I know what that feels like. And I just want to feel good. And I want people to feel good. That's why I Feel Good Rise. And I talk about doing what makes you feel good. And so to me, knowing that life can make people feel horrible and bad and hurtful on surface levels, in a deep way, in all different ways, it's inspiring and motivating for me to get out there and to do the work that I do, and to not only benefit from the work that I do and the people in the communities that I'm a part of, but also hopefully impact folks in with some light.
Amazing. Well, I think you're definitely spreading light, especially every Sunday. And I really appreciate you sharing your take on our show. Thank you so much for having us into your home.
Oh, no, this was a pleasure. Anytime.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you to Allie Love for welcoming us today. Follow along with Allie on Instagram at AllieMissLove and at Love Squad. I'm Kristen Twyford, and if you enjoyed our conversation, I hope you'll subscribe to Make Yourself at Home and leave us a review. Make Yourself at Home is presented by Nines, household management software that helps you manage your properties and everything that comes with them, so you can make the most of your time at home. Learn more at ninesliving.com.